Welcome to my podcast entitled The Wright Experience. I'm Dr. William T. Wright, Jr., the founder and host of this show. I am now in the process of completing my 23rd year as a professional educator and my 8th year as a school superintendent. Over those years, I've been fortunate enough to meet and get to know and work with some amazing leaders from all across the United States. The vision of this show that I've created is to share these podcasts with you so that we can learn from each other and get better every day. Our initial focus has been and will continue to be on for some time, educational leaders, and we'll look to expand to other disciplines down the road. When you hear something that you like, please drop us a comment as you've already been doing, click like, or if you're viewing us via YouTube, please click like, and most importantly, that subscribe button. I have been absolutely thrilled and amazed with the responses thus far, and we're looking forward to those continuing to come in. This show is growing by leaps and bounds and has exceeded my expectations, to be honestly with you, and I'm certainly thankful for that. Tonight is episode 14 of The Wright Experience. My guest is what we call in these businesses these days a long tenured superintendent. He served as superintendent in one district for 10 years now. He's also served in various leadership roles throughout the region and the state of North Carolina. He and I first met when I assumed the superintendency here in Hertford County Public Schools. We collaborate all the time on everything from weather to athletics to how to make our school districts better. And occasionally there's a bit of competition involved, but of course it's healthy competition. My guest tonight is Dr. Barry Williams, Superintendent of Gates County Public Schools. Dr. Philip Barry Williams is currently the Superintendent of Gates County Public Schools, as I've just mentioned, right up the road from Hertford County in Gatesville, North Carolina. Dr. Williams has served in that role since 2012. During his tenure as superintendent of Gates County Schools, he has served as the Northeast Region Superintendent of the Year for the 1920 school year. Additionally, he is a graduate of the AASA National Superintendent Certification Program, and he received his certificate in San Diego, California. He also has held many leadership positions at the state and regional level, including but not limited to serving on the NCSSA Executive Board. And that is, of course, our North Carolina School Superintendents Association. Prior to Dr. Williams moving to Gatesville, he served as the superintendent of Rangeley School District, RE4 in Rio Blanco County, Colorado, from 2009 to 2011. Dr. Williams began his educational career in the state of Virginia with Wise County Public Schools, where he taught chemistry, biology, and mathematics. He also served as a high school assistant principal and the principal of Coburn Primary School during his tenure with Wise County Public Schools. Previously, Dr. Williams also served as a locomotive engineer with Norfolk Southern Railway for 10 years, a fact that I did not know until preparing for this show. Pretty good fun fact about Dr. Williams. There are many, many, many other accomplishments, some of which we'll hear on this podcast. But at this time, I would like to welcome my colleague and friend, Dr. Barry Williams. Welcome to the Wright Experience.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Good to have you aboard. And we are ducking rain pockets right now in both of our counties, I think, with this onslaught of rain we've had a few days. But I'm glad we're able to get this podcast done tonight. Dr. Williams, I want to get right into the questions and get going. First of all, if you will, for us, please take the opportunity to talk to us about your district. Tell us a little bit about Gates County Public Schools and some of the great things that are currently going on in your district.
Okay. Gates County, just a little bedroom county, 12,000 citizens. We got 5 schools, got a high school, middle school, and 3 elementary schools. Very close-knit community. people in Gates County. And some positive things that are happening here in Gates County, I guess that you and everyone in the Northeast and North Carolina and even the country can say we're back to face-to-face learning.
That's right.
Return back to face-to-face learning in January for our elementary schools and in February for our middle and high school. Another thing that is going great in Gates County is the COVID-19 allowed us to plan differently. And so we were fortunate enough to work through virtual learning with the support of our community. We even actually developed 3 documents, as everyone else in the state had to do. We had to develop a Plan C, a Plan B, a Plan A, and we went even further and we formulated and designed and orchestrated a moving forward document. The benefits of COVID, we always hear, oh, it's awful, and I can't believe this is happening to us. But the benefits of COVID is it most definitely increased our technology for students and teachers through grants and funding allocations. But I tell you what, that was really interesting in Gates County is in March the 7th of 2020, we cut a ribbon to a brand new middle school. And we built that middle school. It took 7 or 8 years to even get the school where we wanted to get it through funding and through grant applications. And we cut that ribbon on March the 7th. And then the next week, Governor Cooper shut us down. And so of course, we're using it in full force now, and it's a beautiful facility. Some other things, just real quick of brevity right here. With added teacher supplement that hasn't been added since I believe 1988. Out of 115 school districts, we were one of the bottom for teacher supplements, and we were able to double the supplements with the blessing of the county commissioners. Something that's coming up for Gates County, which I am extremely proud of, it's called an NNDCC, and that stands for a Naval National Defense Cadet Corps, and that will be established and begin in the fall. And you know this as well as I do, Dr. Wright, that those kind of programs, they build character, citizenship, self-discipline, community involvement, teamwork, and it just exposes kids to career pathways, other than just the military. So that's a good thing. With our technology, we have some big-time funders who have graduated from Gates County, who have come back to see students do well, and they want to see the school system do well. And that's something called the Saunders Science Program. Okay. And Benjamin Saunders, Senior, he was a principal at one of our elementary schools a long time ago. And his son, Benjamin, graduated from Gates County High School, and big-time athlete, and now he lives up in Washington, D.C., but he always comes down to help the children in Gates County, mainly the middle school, because that's where his love was. And he works with the UNC Moorhead College, and he just gives kids the opportunities to work with technology and science through speaking engagements, taking the kids to different places. And so, it's just a really good program where he just buys Chromebooks and gives kids access to things that they wouldn't get in a real small America. Another thing that we have got going on is something called Gates on the Go, and we have a board chair. His name's Ray Felton, and him and his wife, they contribute to the technology program for 5 years through ECU. And what's really cool about that is we have drone competitions, and so it's good to see kids using drones and the technology that they use in big urban school districts. We can do that out here in the country, so to speak.
So you got drones flying in Gates County. I'm gonna have to come over there and see that then. How about that? Absolutely. So, Dr. Williams, the average tenure for a superintendent is 3 years. We've seen all the research on that. Yet you have managed to triple that in one place. To what do you attribute that success?
Well, I tell you what, if we count my years in Colorado, that's 12 years of experience as a superintendent.
That's right.
And you know this as well as I do. You know this as well as I do, that I believe that relationship building is the key to leading a school district. I think that my school board and I work very well together because we do have a shared vision for our schools. And, we want our students to be successful to receive a high quality education. We have the retreat. It's just like every other superintendent does. North Carolina School Board Association Master Board Training. When you're in an interview, you always hear people around the table after the candidate leaves. They say, "Do you think he'll be a good fit?" Well, in Gates County, I came from a small rural community, so I'm actually a pretty good fit, which I could attribute to my longevity here in Gates County. I think that I'm committed to students and staff with a passion for continuous learning and improvement. You have to be visible. You have to be available to everyone. I think the experience and just leadership, I think, helps out a whole lot in my tenure. I think you have to be a team builder. You have to be that person in the room where somebody walks in and they try to figure out who's the superintendent because everybody is talking together in collaboration and cooperation. I think you have to have the ability to assign responsibility and delegate authority. I think you just have to be an educational leader who understands the current research and the technological innovations and best practices and evaluation processes. But mainly, I think you could put this in bold letters, and I think it's really important is for any superintendent, if you want to last for a long time. I think there are times when you have tough situations. We've just went through that, and we're coming around the corner on that. Right. But you have to be confident in the decisions that you make and made, and you got to know that those decisions are correct. And you know as well as I do, you got to weather through those controversial situations. And if you can get through that and have that positive mindset, I think that's what has kind of kept me here in Gates County.
Right. And all of that points back to that fit. I remember 5.5 years ago when I got the opportunity to come here, I was approached to apply for the position. And the person said, "William, I think you'd be good for them, and I think they'll be good for you," which I thought was an interesting statement at the time. But that's that fit that you're talking about, which is so key. Absolutely. And then, like you said, being confident in the decisions that you make. That's great stuff. So, Dr. Williams, how do you stay abreast of current educational trends, and then how do you incorporate them into your role as superintendent?
That's a good question. What I do and try to do it on a regular basis, and I've heard one of our mentors tell us to as well, Jack Hoke and Larry Coble and Bill Daggett and all those gentlemen, that the only professional development for you is for you to go out and get that professional development. And the NCSSA, the Next Generation Development cohorts, there has been 8 of them. I've been in every one to go and learn because everything's different. The Advanced Superintendent's Executive Leadership Development Program, I was in that program just to seek more to professional development, more things that I can put on the table that can use me, season the situation with the salt and the pepper and the ingredients that you need when you're cooking. I think continuing my education, I went back to school and I got a law degree. And most definitely when you know a little bit about, the law at the K-12 level, it most definitely helps you, even though I still remain in constant contact with my legal counsel. It's good to know that sometimes I nail it when I get an opportunity. And just, additional certifications. I got the AASA out in Los Angeles with my National Superintendent certification program. The appointment to Governor Cooper's NCCAT Board of Trustees. I'm just learning things.
Right.
And, going back to the thing about being a good fit, and the relationships piece, I give presentations across the country, along the East Coast, about school board relationships and superintendent evaluations, because you just said it at the beginning of the show that, superintendents don't last long. And so I think it's good to let school boards understand, where we're coming from and how we feel when we're evaluated. Because, when you evaluate somebody and it's a positive evaluation, they're going to do a whole lot better job and work a whole lot harder for you, no matter, what type of evaluation that you give. But those are some of the things that I try to keep up on.
Outstanding. So, Dr. Williams, some of our viewers tonight are aspiring educators or aspiring leaders. They may already be in education. Some are just interested in our field. So my next question is, what do you look for? What characteristics do you look for in a leader?
Oh, I'll tell you what, I think it's important. If you're a leader, I mean, you can always look at Posner's, and they talk about honesty, integrity, and all the high topic things. And you know who I'm talking about. I believe there's 20 of them that you should do. But to me, when I look at leaders or things that I could pass on to my colleagues or someone who's new, is I think that you gotta keep speaking victory. Our words are setting the direction in our lives, our personal lives and our professional lives. And if you want to know, what's going on, then you have to, listen to yourself and what you're saying to yourself. You can always say, you know what, I'm never going to get better. I'm never going to be successful. I'll never have the right team. But when you say those things, you're actually predicting your future. And you can't speak defeat and have victory. And so you can't talk sickness and have health. So, you got to speak with confidence, with a lack of abundance. And I think you don't use your words to describe the situation. I think you use your words to change the situation. Like you can't say, well, I'll never get out of this problem. You're inviting defeat. Or I'm not talented, or what you're doing is you're limiting you're inviting limitations. So you can't do that. I think you got to have a positive mindset. Every day we get to choose what kind of attitude we're going to have when we leave the door. And I think looking on the bright side, you should always expect good things. Believe that your dreams are going to come through and everything's going to come to pass. And you can choose to be negative. Or you can choose to focus on problems, or you can dwell on what didn't work out. But you shouldn't do that. Nobody can force you to have a negative attitude. And so I guess for me, and my challenge to anyone who's going to sit in this seat is you got to keep your mind going in the right direction and listen and think thoughts on purpose. Something good is going to happen in Gates County. And just like building a school, a lot of people told me, you'll never build a school. But, we did. And it's a beautiful school. And I think it's the prettiest middle school in the whole Northeast or whole state. And did that through something that was just a positive attitude. And another thing that we've done, and you've done it with me, and so as other superintendents, is we have achieved the impossible of coming out of a pandemic and getting back face to face. I don't know if that's a miracle or if it's just something that we just withstood the test of time, but I don't know any superintendent that's been through a pandemic.
That's right. I think it's a little bit of both. And speaking of schools, I'm going to join you in that effort real shortly. We've got that Hosky Elementary finishing up, and really excited about that as well. Those are exciting times. Anytime you can provide a better environment for kids, for sure. Great, outstanding. So, in addition to that, and you've already touched on some things that I'm sure will probably be a part of this, but Dr. Williams, if you had an opportunity to mentor or give advice to a first-year superintendent, this is a bit of a scenario here. First-year superintendent in what's considered to be a small rural school district similar to yours, what advice would you give him or her? First year, just on the job.
Okay. First year. Well, first thing comes to my mind is it's always okay if we say, I don't know.
Right.
That makes us human. It becomes problematic when I think we realize that we know something that we don't really know. But if we try to figure something out when we say, I don't know, then we're going to grow. I feel like the moment that you start learning, unlearning, and pretty much relearning with intentionality is the moment we open ourselves up to stagnation and complacency. I look at also as far as a piece of advice is, I think a new superintendent, you got to look at what's happening versus what's really going on. So people vary in their ability to understand what's really going on. But first and foremost, every good leader, you got to know what's going on. So, you have got to be in the schools. You've got to be visible. You've got to be at ball games. You've got to listen to people here say things to you that are negative. And you know as well as I do, and it's probably something that some people can handle and some people can't. And that is the negativity from people that approach us. And it's not, it's not what's said, it's how we respond. And so, again, you always have to keep that professionalism. You have to keep, what you say. It could always be in the paper. It could be on the radio. And you have to really watch what you say because, you're the person who everybody looks to. You're the telephone call that somebody wants to call and they deliver that problem. And you're the person that has to fix it. And so we're pretty much in the middle with the school board and our employees and the citizens and the parents. We're there to fix that problem. And so that's where, when I said just a little while ago, when the going gets tough, the tough get going, that's when you can't quit and you got to weather that storm.
That's right. That's right. So Dr. Williams, we both have been around for a while now. I think we were talking the other day about it in the Northeast. We are some of the most tenured superintendents in the Northeast right now, which is pretty amazing, particularly in my standpoint. I've been here 5.5 years. You've been there 10. But anyway, and so and schools and school districts and everything has changed a tremendous amount in that period of time. But going forward, if we look forward, what do you think our focus needs to be moving forward as leaders over the next, say, 5 to 10 years?
Well, I can tell you what, I can answer that question with something that maybe I'm going to pirate off of you.
Okay.
I think with most of the school districts in the Northeast, all of us being pretty small, I think it's difficult to provide a fully functional regional virtual academy like they do west of the Northeast. And what I would like to see and what I think can be done is I'd like to see the Northeast school districts come together to develop a regional virtual learning academy with each district providing a few teachers, with the end result being a fully staffed virtual academy that can be used by all the students in the Northeast who prefer virtual learning. And so I think what COVID has taught us, to me, well, number one, we don't complain. But I think it's taught us that I call it the digital inequity, where we don't have the resources. And so, William, as well as I do, you go back prior to COVID, what was the big thing in the courtroom? It was the Leandro case, and that was a sound basic education for every child. And so I think, that's what we have to look at too here in the Northeast.
Make sure we get that equitable playing field, and that's great. All right. So Dr. Williams, in your vast career, 10 years there, a couple of years before, 12 years of being a superintendent, what do you consider to be your most significant achievement thus far as a leader? And I know you don't like to talk about yourself, but your most significant achievement thus far as a leader, what do you think that would be?
I think it's just being able to connect with people. I think it's having the ability and let people know that you care and that you love them, and that you're here to stay. Gates County is not a lily pad for me to jump on and go to a bigger school district. Gates County's home. I feel like I was born in Gates County. And we had a young man who's a senior who's going to graduate tomorrow, and he had a four-wheeler accident. And much love has come across the county to raise money for his medical bills. And he is in Atlanta, Georgia right now. And so when I say, or you ask me, what's one thing, I think it's just the strong bond that I have with students and teachers and the school board, because when the young man went to Atlanta Monday, just 3-4 days ago, I was down there. I gave him a surprise visit, and that was just phenomenal of the young man. Seeing the superintendent came down to see me, and I don't look at myself as the person who is the big boss, the CEO, the person who's in charge with all the full authority. I look at the people as I am the same. We're all on the same level, and there's really no formal hierarchy in Gates County. And so I can't really say what do I do. I'm just Barry being Barry. And so I've always heard people say, just be yourself. And so that's just me. I'm Dr. Williams, professionally. I'm Barry if you need me, but I just love what I do. I love putting this tie on in the morning, and I love going to work with a positive attitude and having just a good time watching kids learn.
All right. Dr. Williams, that statement was so profound it kicked me off. How about that? What you're talking about though is authenticity, which is really key. We have to be ourselves, and we have to put ourselves into these roles. And Even sometimes if we don't get it back always, we still have to do that. So great, absolutely great. Dr. Williams, is there anything else that you'd like to share about the work that you're doing that is perhaps not well known or that I did not cover tonight in our podcast that you can think of?
No, I think you covered everything very well.
Okay.
I just, think we need to we need to be positive. We need to keep a smile on the face, and we need to keep looking forward.
Thank you very much. Dr. Williams, if you hold on with me just for a minute, we'll come right back and close out here. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, my next podcast is going to air on June 10th, 2021 at 7 p.m. My guest is going to be Mr. Matthew Cheeseman, who is the current superintendent of Beaufort County Schools in North Carolina. My South Carolina friends would want to call that word Beaufort, but in North Carolina, it's pronounced Beaufort. So anyway, Mr. Cheeseman is also currently the chairman of our regional superintendents group in northeastern North Carolina, and will be the 2021-2022 Northeast Region Superintendent of the Year. And those of us in the Northeast, of course, are pulling for him to become the State Superintendent of the Year for next school year. I look forward to that experience. Also, later on this month, I'm going to have the pleasure of having the CEO of Noble Charter Schools in Chicago, Illinois. She's going to be a guest. You certainly don't want to miss that occasion as well. She is an up-and-coming, outstanding leader in her own right, and she is the CEO of that large charter group in Chicago, Illinois. So we've got exciting times forthcoming. The saga continues. We're trying our best to bring you the very best educational leaders that I can approach about being on this show. Dr. Williams, just want to say thank you very much for your leadership and for your willingness to be on this podcast. On a personal note, I want to say thank you for the working relationship that the two of us have, and that the way you've always embraced me as a colleague from the very beginning. In fact, when you became chairman of the Northeast region, you reached out to me, your colleague, and said, hey, I'd like for you to be my vice chair. And I'll always be appreciative of that, given an opportunity to lead at the state level. So thank you for your leadership and your friendship.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. And the audience, I thank you for watching The Wright Experience. Good evening.